We don't want to lose sight of that, is what you're saying, Robin.
I think we need to have a balance. If you breathe too much, you hyperventilate. If you drink too much water, you drown. And if we strictly look at slash and burn of teachers, I think we're really chopping off our nose to spite our face, and it just doesn't make sense. There has to be a balanced approach. And the bottom line has to be what's best for our children. Bottom line. Everything else is
Thank you, Robin.
I apologize, I get a little nervous when I talk to other people, so I'm sorry if I stammer. I just would like to second what she was saying about the real estate. People really do look at the extracurricular activities in schools. Me and my wife are actually looking to purchase in the area at the moment, and we were, Palatine, I don't know if you know, is rather famous for, you guys have had a music program in here since the inception of your school district. I'm not sure how many of you are actually aware of that. Your town symbol actually has a musical note in it. There's a reason behind that. You all have always had music in your schools, and it's something you've always been proud of, and I've known about that. So it drew me and my wife. I'm completely tone deaf, and I'm very I can't sing or play instruments. I'm terrible about this. Terrible for people, I'm sorry. But she plays the harp beautifully, and a lot of my friends do, and I'm quite envious of them. And I just like to say, I'd like for my children to have the opportunity to, have elementary school orchestra so that they can proceed into junior high and college level things like that. Because I know people that do really enjoy these things, and I know it builds a strong community of people, and it builds character. The people I know in these band programs always seem, I don't know, happier together than they do elsewhere. And I just think it's an important thing to try and save, if at all possible.
Appreciate that. There's definitely research that says kids that are involved in extracurriculars do better in academics.
I just wanted to say I think what's best for the kids in our district is maintaining the current class sizes, maintaining the number of teachers we currently have, and maintaining our program. And building accountability into our system. That's what our kids need. And firing teachers is not the only answer. Keeping all our teachers and having a one-year pay freeze will go a long way into solving this crisis.
Thank you.
I haven't heard anybody advocate for unqualified teachers or racist people.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any of them. I think the real issue here has got to get down to, especially when you look at where 85% of your costs are, the real issue is that the cost of the people providing the education has got to start to fall in line with the private sector. It cannot be one where the public sector can always be reaching into the pockets of everybody here just because somebody negotiated some contract somewhere. I mean, I work for large corporations and small companies, and everybody makes cuts when they have to. A business doesn't have the luxury of just telling everybody in town, well, we're not managing this very well, and so we're taking more money from you.
Come on, who makes less than teachers?
Are you kidding me?
Are you? No, I'm not kidding. Most of the teachers are not that well paid.
I can give you a list of the teachers in the state of Illinois. Regardless of that, it's an issue of private sector versus public sector costs.
I hear you saying that. No one is advocating for poor teachers.
And the public education system is largely an uncompetitive entity. And that's why it's gotten the way it's gotten.
I hear what you're saying.
Kind of wondering maybe into the underlying angst here is, the fact is, over the last 5 years, the salaries have gone up, so the expense gone up. We could ask show of hands, how many people here have had a raise in the last 4 years, averaging 3 to 5%? We're not going to go there. I mean, there's not a shared pain, and this country's been in a world of hurt for 4 years, and that's the underlying angst. And all we're hearing is, and by the way, my wife's a teacher, so in the district. So,
Your ex-wife?
Soon to be.
She did give us a good Anyway, Judge, I just think, we shouldn't have an argument about that here tonight. But on another point, talk about Joe moving out of district, but my projection, and this is the first year where my taxes are not going up, my projection is for my 90 by 110-foot lot, home in Palatine, from where I'm at right now, by 2017, which is not that far away, my property taxes will be $20,000 a year. I will have to move. Talk about having to leave. I mean, what happens when people like me, with those homes, have to get the heck out of Dodge? What are you guys going to do then? Because the philosophy is, oh, the district's so good, people will pay it. At some point, the system will break. And I think that's what you got to understand is people are getting there. People are getting there.
Thank you.
It seems to me when I look at a family budget, this may sound crazy to people. We're talking about cutting. In your family, when you get to the point where you can't pay the bills anymore, at some point you have to look at increasing the revenue. Somebody's got to go out and get another part-time job. Now, I understand the deal with property taxes that people are stressed. Could we, as a community, start trying to think of a creative way to fund our schools, to raise revenue? I mean, the state talked at one time about the lottery, all of the revenue from the lottery was going to go to fund our public schools. And somehow, all that money got siphoned off, and now something like 15% of it goes to schools. Does a community like Palatine have to start thinking in terms of creative, relatively painless ways to raise some revenue? In the scheme of things, $6 million is not a lot of money. What was it? Our late senator once said, $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking real money. $6 million is not a lot of money. And it seems to me we have to think of a way in these communities, instead of cutting and cutting and cutting, to find a little money coming in. We have to think in terms of revenue. Can we be as creative in trying to find a way to raise school revenue as we can in thinking of ways of cutting other people's salaries and benefits?
And I think it's a good suggestion. We continue to look at other districts and other school systems across the nation. And I can tell you that we're all in the same boat and nobody's figured out a way to find that solution. But we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking.
I mean, like soda pop tax or something on that, 2 or 3 cents a bottle. I mean, it would probably raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I came from a valley here.
I know we've got some agreements with some, at least I believe, like Buffalo Grove, where we're busing in kids from outside of Palatine to Virginia Lake and Jane Addams, or Lake Louise, I think. At least that's what I was told. Is that not accurate? There's people like up towards Lake Cook, and that's part of.
They're all within the district boundaries.
But are they all in Palatine? And so that my question was, are we getting, and just because I'm oblivious to it, are we getting real estate taxes and stuff from those areas, even though they're further away and we're still busing in?
Yes. Okay. We serve 7 villages or communities. Right.
I want to thank you and your staff. I think you guys have done a really nice job tonight, bringing kind of factual information. Right. It's been a long conversation. We've been having this for the whole year you've been here, and I really do appreciate the professionalism you guys bring to the table.
Thank you. Just to let you know. Just to let you know, the meeting at 4 o'clock today, there were tears because some teachers realized they may not be teaching next year, and they have families to support. So they're both sides of it, and we don't talk about these issues without thinking about kids, thinking about members of the teaching community and the staff that will lose their jobs, and we don't lose track of the community, which are the contributors for the funding for the majority of our district. Try to keep all those things in the thing. But thank you, Bob. Yes.
Our school.
Mary, you want to answer that? Are there summer programs in the district?
Yeah, at our Title I site buildings where we can, all our summer
Get taken out of their companies. Is that possible with the teachers, no matter at what level or step they are?
Yeah, Senate Bill 7 was just passed, and it really has allowed us, I think, a greater ability to release people that aren't performing at the level they need to.
The reason I ask is because when you were going down the list, you mentioned the lowest paid people were the ones that were being considered to be eliminated. And maybe they should be the ones that we should keep.
You know, that solution of keeping the best teachers and releasing the ones that are least effective is a couple years down the road. The legislation has been put into place, but there's some steps that we need to take in order to get there, but that will occur in the future. With right now, we're on a strictly seniority release list, so the RIF list, the reduction in force list is the least experienced teachers.
Second question, are you still projecting a reduction in the number of students for the future as a structural?
Really, no. We're kind of projecting a flat trend in enrollment. Scott?
If reductions in teachers end up happening, how does that happen with the seniority? If all the least senior teachers were kindergarten through 3 teachers, and you see where I'm going here? What if your releases don't match your requirements? Is there a...
Well, no, there are different lists, and so if we don't have an opening for a teacher who has a certification, then that person gets released, regardless of if somebody has less experience and stays on. If we only have a music slot left and they can't teach music, then we let that person go and keep the music person.
So there is a provision for you've got to keep...
You can only take the position you're qualified to teach.
The other thought, creative solution maybe, is it possible to share after-school services with activities with what the Park District is doing, and to share some of that administrative work and share some of the facilities? Is that an option?
We do some of that already, and we certainly would be open to those. That's not going to get us to the big solution that we need to, but it's worthy of looking into. Thanks.
Scott, I know you've come to many of our PTA meetings. Some PTA co-president, and you're not among spot reflecting. We work extremely hard. I work at Thomas Jefferson. I do not get paid for any of the hours I put in. I oversee over 35 committees, and one of those is the Great Committee, which helps our children read. We have many volunteers. We have about a base of 50 moms that are stay-at-home moms, and it's dwindling every year because in this community in particular, we have more and more dual income families, which means that I have to keep going to the same 50 women, and it's very difficult for me. I just had a teacher come to me and ask me for more help. We're always right there for them. We support heavily in the library. I think our librarian needs a part-time help, and we've discussed this at the PTA meetings. But the school district doesn't have enough money for it. So the PTA goes in and we help. I can't tell you all the programs that we do help. I know that all of the extracurricular activities that we've talked about are extremely important for our children. These are not babysitting classes. The volunteer base is dwindling. To try to ask for more volunteers is just impossible. So I think that we need to find our reductions somewhere.
Respect the teachers, what they do. I wouldn't want to be in a room with 26 kids, let alone try to teach them, 8 hours a day. But, a couple of years ago, they tried to pass a referendum for a certain amount of money, and they were shot down. And I think the community here, what the lady just said, where people are starting to go more dual incomes, I think there's getting to be a resentment with the teachers, and I just want them to realize that they've got to give a little bit in the contract. 85% of the expenditures or the costs in our district is direct result of them working. Now, again, I don't deny anybody a fair pay for what they do, but they've got to give something at this end, like the lady said, Jane said over there. We're a family. The family doesn't keep saying you pay. They've got to give a little. It's a give and take.
I appreciate that balanced comment. Thanks.
I appreciate the transparency that you guys have done today in terms of disclosing a lot of stuff and engaging interaction. I would just like to suggest, seeing as we don't really know where this is going to go because of the timing of everything, for example, contract negotiations and final discussions of what the big numbers that are really going to make a big difference, like $5,000, it's a rounding difference, or $8,000, no, that doesn't matter. I'm sure you guys are going to focus on the big stuff. But looking at your plan of action, I think listening to some lady earlier on talk about getting everybody together in a forum to kind of debate some of the pros and cons and share some issues, it seems to me that another forum like this, instead of having a 30-day website review, would be a real good idea to go towards really getting some consensus on how to attend to the structural deficit. I say that because you can interact like we are right now. And you can hear the other party's concerns and answer those questions. But a website is not interactive. It's not going to provide the same coming together, I think, of minds.
We have actually had one meeting, and we do invite the community to come out to that, to say what you want to say, and we have another one coming up. What's the date? So sorry, I'm
no, but I appreciate that. But I'm thinking just in terms of the steps that going forward to getting a budget in place and getting some direction about contracts and everything like that. This is a pretty big thing. You guys have called a meeting to say we've got to address something that's structural, and I think it's important enough that it merits in your program another get together like this before once things are a little bit clearer. And that might mean you've got to have a tentative budget approval and then a final budget approval. But I think it's important enough to consider that as an option.
If you're suggesting to have another one of these, I think that's definitely a possibility. The issue becomes when we start trying to negotiate a contract with another group in public, which is an unfair labor practice. So, and we certainly don't want to create a situation where we've got two groups kind of going against each other, because we are a family, and we wouldn't want to put two of our most heated family members together and let them go at it.
I'm not suggesting negotiations, I'm suggesting discussions about the issues and how to solve them, because it's not a one-dimensional thing like cut costs or raise revenues. It's actually it's a business issue that most private sector managers have to wrestle with on a daily basis, and you guys are also understanding the importance of it now. And I think it's a question of compromising, looking at this. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we have some creative revenue ideas? Can we have some creative cost containment ideas? They are not mutually exclusive. And I think sometimes the way things get portrayed, it's either this or that, and that's kind of the nature of a Jerry Springer talk show, as opposed to something much more important like this.
Well, I think it's a very good suggestion, and perhaps we will be able to have another one of these with a wider representation if at all possible. But the plan for the 30-day review was to get more feedback, and if on the website isn't the best way, then we can talk about perhaps doing something differently. Thank you.
We do have the February
25th,
9 a.m.
And we will plan at that meeting to be talking about finances.
Sure.
So that will be 9 to 11 at the district office.
Talking about cutting teacher salaries or trying to reduce the amount of increase in teacher salaries when cutting teachers and having teachers pay more for their health care, which obviously I think needs to happen. But will those same things be happening in the administration level as well? Will you be taking less increases in your salaries and you paying more for healthcare across the board? Or will that just be the union staff that will be in those kinds of negotiations? Because I've been on the union side before. I'm not currently a teacher, but I've worked non-for-profit. I've been union, and I can tell you that negotiations, when you're seeing that changes are happening above you as well as happening at your level, they go down a lot easier than changes when your corporate is still getting their raise and your president is still getting his bonuses and, you know, his corner office or whatever. If teachers are seeing that administrators are also taking a hit, those negotiations definitely go a lot easier. Are those kinds of things being looked at as well?
Administrators' increases have been at or below CPI when teachers have been greater. So we, you know, the administrators have been getting a lot less percentage increases than the teachers, and we basically will have the same healthcare plan. So we'll be in the same boat. So if we agree to higher co-pays and deductibles, those will all be part of our plan as well.
I'm guessing you have a lot of time in this industry, and I've read that there's very little correlation between money spent on education and the actual outcomes. I was wondering what your thoughts were.
Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, the question is that there's very little correlation between the amount of money spent on education versus the outcomes.
For example, I've read that in Japan they spend half what we do and they get a better outcome.
Well,
culture experience.
yeah. I mean, I've been in the business for over 25 years almost, and you know, there's definitely a debate about that issue, and I can tell you that the American economy is still the strongest. You may think it's weakening, but it's still the strongest economy in the world. And I think it's in great part due to public education. And I think it's the foundation of training people and creating a workforce that is creative. They produce things. They think differently. There are other countries that outperform on tests. But until another country really outperforms the United States, I think that we still have to hold on that what we're doing in our educational system has been good. We can improve it. We can get better. But the correlation with the dollar spent, you know, I mean, we have to say what is the kind of education we want for our kids, and what's the kind of education that's going to serve the country for many years to come. And we know that if a child graduates from high school and that's the end of their career, they'll earn significantly less than if they go to college. We know that if a person doesn't even graduate from high school, that cost to the society is going to be huge because they don't contribute, they don't pay their fair share, and the rest of the population has to pay.
Thank you. If I could just make one comment, because it was really disturbing. I had read in the unemployment statistics how many people who were educated in this country were losing their jobs to people who were educated in other countries. And that is disturbing. It is true.
You know, I'm sure there is some of that, and there is some of that. And we have to adjust. I think we're talking about finances here, and your question was really, do finances equal quality? They don't. If you don't pay quality people, though, they will go elsewhere. And it's up to us to have the best educational system. And people don't work for money. They work because you're in a system that's satisfying, rewarding, that you're doing good work, and they feel good about it.
If I could just possibly make one more comment, I'll keep my mouth shut. From what I've read, teachers make 3 to 4 times the median income in this country, so I don't really think they're going anywhere else.
Okay, all right, thanks. Tracy?
The slides that you put up tonight, are those going to be available on the website? I know there are a lot of people who couldn't be here tonight, and rather than have them get information second or third hand about what the district is considering, would you consider putting those up on the website?
I was just wondering, maybe this ray of hope might be true. If your decisions made in March as far as a budget are, let's say, on the darkest side, and yet the negotiated agreements in the next few months turn out well, I'd like to think that a lot of this stuff can be undone. Certainly if you're in the situation that in June you have to release teachers, I mean, certainly they have to know. Some of those people are going to get new jobs, but if someone doesn't get a new job and we get a good agreement, I'd like to think those same people have a job in August. Is that, you know, it's possible. I mean, it's,
As soon as we have negotiated savings, I think then we can bring some things back.
Right.
We'll talk with the board about that.
so the budget passed in March is not cast in concrete as far as, you know, if we said we're going to release 10 teachers, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's possible to undo that.
We can definitely call them back if we find that we've got enough money and that makes sense. The goal is to get those two lines together on a permanent basis so that we know what our expenditures are, we know what our revenues are, and they're going to stay together. And so then we can start focusing about quality of education. We can start talking about improving the programs that we have for kids now instead of talking about cuts and finances.
We're very hopeful about the negotiation thing, but wasn't there a request from the district in the last fall to reopen the contract to discuss alternatives at that time, and the door was shut? I mean, what's going to change? I mean, to me, that said a lot about the relationship with the community. What's going to change?
The thing is that they sat down and we talked and we went back and forth, and we just weren't able at that time, late in the summer, to come to any agreement. We tried, it didn't work out. But now the contract is up this year, and so all the parties have an interest in making sure that that agreement.
So you actually negotiated something? What I read in the paper was you couldn't even negotiate to open the discussion.
Reopen.
To reopen the contract. Yeah, you couldn't even get to the point of discussing what you needed to reduce because you had to negotiate reopening the contract. And that, you couldn't even get past that.
No, we actually sat down face to face and talked about some possibilities.
Okay.
And they brought some possibilities, we brought some possibilities. It just wasn't able to be worked
So
out.
things on the table, but it didn't get formal to put into a renegotiated contract.
Right. I mean, we shook hands, we went away, you know, understanding each other's sides, and we said, we'll wait until next year when the contract's up.
So kind of like Congress.
Oh, don't slap in the face.
Thanks for waiting.
Because of the exceptional teachers in the schools in this area, the thing that kind of scares me is that college tuition has gone up 63%. Now that we're all well-educated kids, we're going to get into college and then no jobs afterwards. It's kind of a situation I don't know what the answer is. Fundraising, creating, there's got to be something you can do. And I think volunteerism is one aspect of doing it, which I think.
Thank you.
I moved myself here in this educational system too, and I would say that I worry about the same things as people, but I do think that this forum and what they're doing here proves to me that I made the right decision, and that this is not an easy road we're heading down, and that this is a great way to try and find the best solution. So I applaud you guys for that. Thank you for letting us have the
I think it's 9 o'clock, and I've done this before. We're going to stick around up here if other people have other suggestions or comments, but I really want to thank you for your thoughts tonight, your openness. We are going to work on creating a plan that the board will get in February, and then we'll try to have another one of these. We'll have the community forum on February 25th so we can talk about it some more. So please mark that in your calendar from 9 to 11. We'll have that available for more discussion after the plan has been presented to the board. Thanks for